guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Adeline's Horror World. My name is Adeline, but of course, you guys already know that. So, where did we leave off last time? Well over a year ago. My apologies for that, by the way. Oh yeah, we went over Pearl's adventures in, well, Pearl. So, now it's time for me to conclude my coverage of the X trilogy with a look at Maxine, which came out just last year. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So Maxine stars Mia Goth, reprising her role from X, Elizabeth Debicki, Kevin Bacon, Giancarlo Esposito, Michelle Monaghan, and is written, produced, and directed by Ti West. Mia Goth also serves as a producer of this film. Speaking of that, to make a correction from my X review well over a year ago, Mia Goth only serves as a producer of this movie, not any of the previous two, like I said before. She is only a producer of this one. Maxine serves as the final film of the X trilogy, despite Ti West previously considering making a fourth installment, as he has now said that he is, quote, happy with where he left it with this one. Set 6 years after the events of X, Maxine Minx is rising in Hollywood fame after being cast in the upcoming horror flick The Puritan 2, despite the controversial subjects within and previously being an adult film star. However, with the increasing number of people presumably being killed precisely by the real-life Night Stalker serial killer, Maxine finds herself in the middle of all of it when a private detective tracks her down because of her connection to the events of the first film. With nothing else left to do, Maxine must face her troubled past in order to survive. So while X and Pearl were both shot back-to-back and were both released within the same year, Maxine had a little more time for the story to breathe as the script was written out by Ti West. As a result, there is an entire 2-year gap between this film and Pearl. To be honest, my anticipation for Maxine was off the charts after adoring the first two, even though I was a bit late to the party on that one, having only watched those movies at the end of 2023. So because of that, it did feel like the promotion for Maxine took way longer than the first two, but that was kind of my fault on that part. Regardless of this, however, the first short teaser of this film was shown at the first screening of Pearl at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2022, and by January of 2023, Ti West had completed the script according to Mia Goth. The film was shot on location in Los Angeles, California from April to May of 2023, and Maxine was finally released worldwide on July 5th of 2024, though production did come with one big issue. In January of 2024, it was said that a background actor who played a corpse on set had sued Mia Goth for intentionally kicking him in the head and taunting him for it, though these allegations were later proven to be false. Similarly to the first two films, reception of Maxine was really positive, though reviews of the film were more mixed, as the film has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 73% as opposed to X having a 94% and Pearl having a 93%. The critics' consensus of the film on Rotten Tomatoes goes as follows. Intoxicating with its maximal style, Maxine is an uneven but vibrant pastiche that drives a stiletto through Hollywood's heart. And now for my favorite section of these reviews, Adeline's Horror World Trivia Time! Did you know that Mia Goth has claimed that the story written for this film is her favorite out of the trilogy? Or that Ti West chose to reference 3 famous horror subgenres for each film, citing X to be an homage to slasher horror, Pearl for psychological horror, and Maxine for giallo horror? Or, finally, that much like X, most of the deaths in this film are all foreshadowed by dialogue, particularly with Kevin Bacon's character when the director of The Puritan 2, Elizabeth Bender, says this line.
Maxine, whatever's going on in your life that's interfering with this picture, I don't care what it takes. Squash it.
Maxine follows Elizabeth's advice later on by literally squashing John in a car compactor. As all of you who watched my reviews of the previous 2 installments are aware of by now, I adored X and Pearl. With X, I really enjoyed the slasher elements that were brought to it, and it practically felt like a love letter to the genre with films such as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I really need to get around to reviewing. Possible future video? With Pearl, I really enjoyed delving into the titular character's early life and really seeing what drove her to insanity, as that was the heart of the film, and honestly the best part of the film for me. With Maxine, I had a ton of hope walking into it, and I prayed that it would be just as good as the first two, and especially that it would not be the cursed third film of the trilogy that is always destined to be terrible. So, with all that in mind, I did go see this opening night of last year, and I recently rewatched it for this review. And I have to be honest, I was not expecting this opinion. Maxine might be my favorite of the trilogy. I know, you're all mad. All the room stands are mad that I prefer this over that one, but I don't care. In my honest opinion, I believe that Maxine is the most rewatchable of all three, it's the most entertaining of all three, and it has the best atmosphere of all three. And I can finally say with certainty and confidence that the X trilogy might perhaps be my favorite trilogy in all of cinema. But just like every other movie in existence, Maxine is not perfect. I do have a few issues and nitpicks spread throughout here, but the highs of this film are insanely high, like top tier. With that in mind, I will go over the positives, the mixed elements, and the negatives of this film. But mainly, I'm just going to talk about why I love Maxine. So let's go ahead and get into the positives. So first off, I have to say that I've really grown to become a fan of horror films that either take place in or represent eras from the past. With that in mind, Maxine might have one of the greatest and most realistic depictions of the 1980s that I've ever seen in film. The gritty feel and aesthetic is perfectly done all throughout, and it's all thanks to Ti West. Most modern films that take place during that time choose to focus more on the vibrant colors and the fun of whatever decade they're portraying, or choosing to include popular songs from said era into their soundtracks. West took a different approach, choosing to incorporate realism with the dialogue, the way the streets and the alleyways look, and how the characters are portrayed. For example, Maxine and all the characters surrounding her feel like real people from the 1980s. They do not feel like caricatures. And I really love that about this film. Next, this film proves to me, alongside Pearl, that Mia Goth deserves all of her flowers, in my opinion. She's wonderful in this film. And I can finally say that she is just as terrific playing Maxine as she is when she's Pearl. When she needs to be a badass, Goth nails it. She does it perfectly, particularly during the scene when she is punching John with the set of keys in her hand. Goth is also really good when it comes to Maxine's quieter, more vulnerable moments when she's either reflecting on her past or on her dilemma on whether or not she should stop the murder spree that is currently happening. Mia Goth is incredible in this film. Not as good as in Pearl, but still great. Next, speaking of Maxine, I believe that her character is way more fleshed out in this film than she was in X. In X, all we really knew about Maxine was that she was an adult film star who seemed to have escaped her controlling religious past due to her father. Here, however, we see that Maxine will do anything and everything to get fame in Hollywood and to have the world know who she is. As she always says, the whole world's gonna know my name. And she does that even if she has to kill or hurt those who get in her way. Get in my way again and you're fucking dead! You hear me? Maxine is not just a tough female protagonist. She's ruthless, fearless, and very determined to get the fame that she wants, which fits in with the themes of the film. Next, I believe that the kills in this film are just a little better than they are in X. The gore is absolutely out of this world with how phenomenal it is, despite there being way less kills than the first. One detail that I particularly love about the gore in this film is the way that the blood looks way thicker and way redder than it normally would appear both in real life and in film. It's a terrific homage to the giallo horror genre with how they would use gore for their death scenes back in the day. For example, A Bay of Blood. Next, you guys know that I am a sucker for set pieces and chase scenes in horror, and I personally believe that this film has the best set pieces of all three. From the chase scene between John and Maxine on the Universal backlot to the third act in Hollywood Hills. Though, with the Universal backlot chase, I kind of wish it continued when Maxine entered the house from Psycho because, well, it would have been more iconic that way. But regardless of that, I adore the chase scenes. To add on to this, I think that Maxine might be the most suspenseful film of the entire trilogy when it comes to the set pieces, chase scenes, and death scenes. Next, each installment of this trilogy has a standout actor for me. In X, it was Brittany Snow as Bobby Lynn. In X,
Pearl. I meant Pearl, not X.
it was obviously Mia Goth. In Maxine, though, the standout is absolutely Kevin Bacon as John, the private investigator. I find it very fitting and very ironic that Kevin Bacon is in this film, because there's a conversation that Maxine has with her friend Leon early on, where she says, name 5 celebrities who got their start in horror movies. And he goes on to name celebrities like Jamie Lee Curtis, Brooke Shields, and so on. While he is known for films like Footloose, Kevin Bacon truly got his start in film with the original Friday the 13th where he played Jack. You know, this guy. Kevin Bacon is absolutely terrific in this film, and he's just a tiny bit better than Mia Goth in my opinion. He's both somewhat menacing with the vibes you get from him early on, but also just absolutely freaking hilarious.
Say, ain't you that dirty movie actress? Well, you look a whole lot taller in person. I guess I only ever seen you lying on your back. Do you know why people come to the Big Easy to work with me? 'Cause I am the best at what I do.
Next, speaking of hilarity, this is easily the funniest of the 3 for me. The random moments that Detective Torres has where he puts on performances to get answers from Maxine, only to be mocked right afterwards by his partner, are particular highlights. However, the best bit of comedy for me is absolutely the scene where John is crushed to death in the car compactor, and he is hysterically reciting the Lord's Prayer, despite claiming to be an atheist earlier in the film.
I'm an atheist myself. You do got the devil in you.
I thought you were an atheist.
Fuck you, bitch. Please turn it off. I don't want to die in here. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
Next, to put it brief, this is also the best shot of the 3, in my opinion. While I far prefer the cinematography in Pearl with the heightened coloring and the heightened HDR, the usage of long takes and smooth tracking shots in this film give it a whole personality in and of itself, which I find to be terrific. Next, while not his best music of the trilogy, I really enjoyed Tyler Bates' score in this film. While I prefer the grander, more orchestral score that he used in Pearl, his usage of what I believe to be a synthesizer is incorporated really, really well in this film, as well as subtle cues from X's score as a nice callback. Finally, I adore all of the subtle references to the previous films. To name a few, there's a moment where Maxine is standing right over the Hollywood star of the famous silent movie actress Theda Bara, who Pearl happened to name her alligator after, by the way. There's another moment where Elizabeth Bender takes Maxine to the set of the original Psycho, and in the very window that Norma Bates' silhouette was always in, she sees Pearl, in a shot that is eerily similar to when she saw Pearl in her own farmhouse through the window in the first film. And lastly, in the scene where Maxine is getting a cast of her head done for the film she's in, she resembles Pearl to an almost uncanny degree. Ironic, considering Mia Goth played both characters. Moving on to my mixed elements, of which I only have one, and that is the performance that Simon Prest gives as Maxine's father in the 3rd act. While I do believe that he has an incredibly menacing presence whenever he's first revealed as the film's killer, that intimidation is almost immediately taken away. He gets way too over the top rather quickly, and it is almost impossible to take this man seriously. And honestly, while I don't hate this aspect of the film, it can be really distracting at certain points.
And you, my beautiful little Maxine, are the star. Tonight, I document an exorcism, a form of miracle for the whole world to see.
Bruh, look at this dude.
Moving on to my negatives, and sadly, the first one is the biggest one of the film. And it's honestly kind of one that really breaks my heart, but it's such a huge negative of the film despite how much I love it overall. So, for the entirety of the first film, and for most of this film, Maxine Minx is portrayed as a strong, independent woman who, pardon my language, does not take shit from anyone. You get in her way, she will mess you up. However, all of Maxine's strength and agency that is shown in the first film and the first 2/3 of this film is abruptly and completely ripped away from her by the time the 3rd act arrives. While she gets some semblance of agency back right before she kills her father, Maxine is downgraded to a damsel in distress for the majority of it, requiring her to be saved by the detectives instead of saving herself like she did in the first film. I don't know. It was just very disappointing to me, to be honest. Finally, this is a more minor negative. I found the twist of the killer's identity to be fairly predictable. When the first scene of the film was shown, I called Maxine's father being the killer almost at once. That prediction only continued to grow stronger once the style of how the killer murdered their victims became apparent, being related to religious themes. So, it only made me more confident in my guess, and surprise, surprise, it turns out I was right. Honestly, I wish I wasn't so predictable, and I wish that each scene would have kept me guessing like most whodunit slashers, but it doesn't entirely affect the experience for me. So overall, guys, I really love Maxine. If I reviewed this film back when it initially came out in 2024, I would probably say that this was my second favorite of the X trilogy, just barely being surpassed by the first. But upon recent rewatch, I kind of have to give the crown to Maxine just a little bit, mainly due to the 80s being portrayed very realistically, Maxine having better character development, having more suspense than the first two, and so on. I love all three films damn near equally, and it was difficult deciding between X and Maxine of which was my favorite. Honestly, if you were to ask my opinion another day, I would even say that X was better, or vice versa. Maxine is a terrific film, and it's a wonderful finish to this trilogy. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that there's not going to be a fourth one, and that they're leaving it here, at least that we know of for now. I highly recommend this film just as much as I did the first two. Just be sure to watch X and Pearl before you watch this one. And also, just a suggestion, make sure you're old enough to watch this film, please. I'm going to give Maxine an A-. So what did you guys think of Maxine? Did you like this movie? Did you hate this movie? Did you love this movie? Or are you just in the middle on it? Let me know, we can discuss it in the comments below. Also, feel free to go ahead and give your ranking of the X trilogy down below as well. So next week, be looking forward to my upcoming review, which I will not be giving away at the moment. I'm back. I'm finally looking forward to doing videos again, and I really hope that you guys are just as excited about that as I am. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and switch your notification settings to all. That way you can be notified for all future videos on this channel. So other than that, guys, I guess that's pretty much it. So anyways, I'm Adeline. This is Adeline's Horror World. Of course, you guys already know that. I love all you guys to death. And until next time. It's a terrific homage to Giallo horror with how they would use gore for